Imagine for a moment that you could reach into the sky and pull one of the planets down into the largest ocean on Earth. You lower Mercury and it sinks. You lower Mars and it sinks. You lower Earth itself and of course it sinks. But then you take Saturn, this enormous ringed giant, nearly 10 times wider than our own world, and you set it upon the water. And it does not sink. It floats. This is not a poetic exaggeration or a storyteller's trick. It is a measured, tested fact of physics, and it is one of the strangest truths ever confirmed about our solar system. The reason lies in something called density, the amount of mass packed into a given amount of space. Water has a density of 1 gram per cubic centimeter. Saturn, despite its overwhelming size, has an average density of only about 0.687 grams per cubic centimeter, the lowest of any planet we know. Most of the planet is not solid ground at all. It is hydrogen and helium, the same lightweight gases that fill a birthday balloon, compressed into a world so vast that light itself takes hours to cross the distance between it and the sun. Think about what that means for a moment. A planet that could swallow more than 700 Earths inside its volume is, pound for pound, lighter than the water in your kitchen sink. It is the kind of fact that quietly rearranges the way you look at the night sky. We are taught from childhood that bigger means heavier, that size and weight travel together. Saturn stands in the heavens as living proof that the universe does not always obey the assumptions we carry into it. For those of us who have spent decades watching the world, this is a humbling reminder. The things we believe we understand, the rules we think are unbreakable, can be overturned by a single measurement taken millions of miles away. And Saturn has a habit of doing exactly that. Every time astronomers believed they had it figured out, the planet revealed another layer, another contradiction, another quiet impossibility waiting patiently to be discovered. So if a planet this enormous can be light enough to float, what else about Saturn have we misjudged? As it turns out, its lightness is only the first surprise. The next one has been raging in its skies for longer than most of us have been alive. On Earth, we measure storms in hours, sometimes in days. A hurricane forms, makes landfall, and within a week it has faded into memory and rebuilt coastlines. We speak of the great storms of our lifetimes, the ones our parents warned us about, the ones we tell our grandchildren we lived through. But on Saturn, a storm is not an event. It is a resident. Some of its tempests have been howling across the planet's face, not for hours or days, but for centuries. Saturn's atmosphere is a place of almost unimaginable violence. Winds there can reach speeds of 1,800 kilometers per hour, more than 4 times the strongest gusts ever recorded on Earth. These are not passing squalls. They are permanent rivers of wind, wrapping around the entire planet in bands that never truly rest. And every so often, something even larger erupts, a great white storm so vast that it can be seen from Earth through a backyard telescope, stretching wide enough to swallow our entire planet whole. There is a human weight to this that is easy to miss. Consider a storm that began before you were born, that raged through your childhood, that continued while you built your career, raised your family, watched your hair turn gray, and it is still turning today, indifferent to every year that passed for you. On Saturn, that is not a strange idea. It is simply the weather. The scale of time out there dwarfs a single human life, and yet, standing beneath the same stars, we are the ones who finally learned to see it. The physics behind this endurance comes down to a lack of interruption. On Earth, storms die when they cross land, when friction and mountains and cooling seas drain their energy. Saturn has no land. There is nothing solid for a storm to strike, nothing to slow it, nothing to break its momentum. A storm born in that endless atmosphere has nowhere to end. It simply continues, feeding on the planet's internal heat, spinning across a world with no shoreline to stop it. A storm that outlives generations is remarkable enough, but Saturn holds a beauty even more fragile. one that will not outlive us at all. The rings we have admired for 400 years are quietly disappearing, and we happen to be alive at exactly the right moment to know it. When Galileo first turned his crude telescope toward Saturn in 1610, he could not quite understand what he was seeing. The planet appeared to have handles, or ears, strange bulges on either side that his instrument was too weak to resolve. It would take decades before astronomers understood that Saturn wore rings, vast circling bands of brightness, unlike anything else known in the sky. For 4 centuries since, those rings have been the very symbol of the planet, its signature, its crown. And yet, they are dying. Data gathered by NASA's spacecraft has confirmed something both wondrous and melancholy. Saturn's rings are raining down onto the planet, pulled inward by gravity and charged by the sun's radiation. The icy particles that form the rings are slowly draining away, falling into Saturn's atmosphere as a faint, endless mist of water. Scientists estimate the rings are losing enough material every second to fill an Olympic swimming pool in about half an hour. At that pace, the rings are not eternal. Current estimates suggest they may vanish entirely within 300 million years, and possibly far sooner. In the lifespan of a universe measured in billions of years, that is the blink of an eye. It means that for most of Saturn's existence, and for most of the future still to come, the planet had no rings and will have none again. We are living inside a narrow window of cosmic time in which they exist at all. There is something quietly moving in that thought, especially for those of us who understand what it means for beautiful things to be temporary. We did not have to be born in the era of the rings. Countless generations could have looked up and seen only a plain, unremarkable point of light. Instead, by pure chance, we arrived at the one moment in Saturn's long history when it wears its greatest ornament, and we possess the telescopes and the spacecraft to witness it in full. That is not a small privilege, that is a gift of timing. But this raises a question that troubled astronomers for generations. If the rings are made of something falling apart, then what exactly are they? The answer is far stranger and far more delicate than the solid bands they appear to be from a distance. From a distance, Saturn's rings look solid, like smooth disks of pale stone laid flat around the planet. Through a telescope, they seem almost like something you could walk across, a great celestial floor. But that impression is an illusion born of distance. The truth is far more delicate and far more haunting than any solid ring could ever be. The rings are not solid at all. They are made of countless separate pieces, billions upon billions of them, ranging in size from tiny grains of dust to boulders as large as a house, even a mountain. Each of these pieces orbits Saturn on its own, following its own path, like an uncountable swarm of moons too small to name. And they are overwhelmingly made of water ice, so pure and so bright that they reflect sunlight back into space, which is precisely why they shine so vividly across the darkness. Now consider their proportions, because this is where the wonder deepens. The rings stretch outward for more than 280,000 kilometers, a span so wide it could nearly reach from the Earth to the Moon. And yet, across that immense breadth, they are astonishingly thin, in most places only about 10 meters thick. 10 meters. Picture a sheet of paper the width of a football field, and you have not even come close to how impossibly flat they truly are. It is worth slowing down here to let that image settle. A structure vast enough to be seen across the solar system, and yet so thin that if you viewed it perfectly edge-on, it would nearly disappear from sight. That is what Saturn's rings are. Not a solid crown, but a shimmering, whisper-thin field of ice and rock, each fragment catching the distant sun, all of them moving together in a silence that has lasted longer than human memory can hold. And yet, for all their delicacy, the rings are not even the most puzzling feature Saturn hides. Far to the north, at the very top of the planet, waits a shape that should not exist in nature at all, one that has left the finest scientific minds without a clear answer. At Saturn's north pole, there is a shape, not a swirl, not a smear of cloud, not the random churning you would expect from a planet's weather. A shape, a near-perfect six-sided figure, a hexagon, drawn into the clouds on a scale so vast it defies belief. Each of its 6 straight sides stretches roughly 14,000 kilometers, long enough to line up more than 4 Earths across a single edge. And it has been sitting there, holding its geometry, for as long as we have been able to look. When the images first came back, many who saw them assumed there had been some error, some trick of processing, some artifact of the camera. Nature does not draw straight lines. Nature does not favor clean corners and repeating angles. The world we know is built of curves and chaos, of rounded storms and ragged coastlines. And yet here, at the top of a gas giant nearly a billion miles away, was a shape so precise it looked almost manufactured, as though something had deliberately carved it into the sky. What causes it? This is where honesty matters more than false certainty. Scientists have proposed that the hexagon forms from a jet stream of wind, a fast-moving current that, under the right conditions of speed and rotation, can bend a flowing fluid into a stable geometric pattern. Laboratory experiments spinning liquids at precise rates have managed to reproduce similar shapes, lending real support to the idea. But to reproduce something in a lab is not the same as fully understanding why it endures for decades on a planet, unbroken, unwavering, unlike anything else in the solar system. And so the hexagon remains, in the truest sense, a mystery. Not the kind that has been quietly solved and filed away, but the kind that still makes seasoned scientists pause and admit the limits of what we know. Perhaps that is the right response. There is a certain dignity in sitting with a question rather than rushing to answer it, in letting Saturn keep some of its secrets a little longer, in acknowledging that a shape at the edge of our reach has not yet fully surrendered its explanation. But if a shape in the clouds can leave us speechless, imagine what lies waiting on Saturn's moons. Because circling this strange planet is a small, bright world that may hide, beneath its frozen shell, one of the most extraordinary possibilities in all of science. Its name is Enceladus, and at first glance, it seems entirely unremarkable. It is small, only about 500 kilometers across, small enough to fit within the borders of many countries. Its surface is white, brilliantly white, a shell of clean ice that reflects nearly all the sunlight that reaches it. For years, it was little more than a name on a list, one of Saturn's many moons, easy to overlook. And then a spacecraft flew close, and everything changed. Rising from cracks near its south pole, the spacecraft found towering plumes, geysers of water vapor and ice erupting hundreds of kilometers into space. This was not frozen stillness. This was activity, energy, something alive with motion. And the only explanation that fit was as astonishing as it was simple. Beneath that frozen crust, hidden from every eye, there must be liquid water. A global ocean, buried under kilometers of ice, warm enough to remain liquid and pushing itself out into the void through those glowing cracks. Then came the detail that made scientists hold their breath. When instruments analyzed the material in those plumes, they found more than water. They found salts and mineral grains and organic molecules, the carbon-based building blocks that, on Earth, are woven into every living thing. They found signs of hydrothermal activity, the same kind of warm, chemical-rich environment found at the bottom of our own oceans, in the very places where some scientists believe life on Earth may first have begun. Let the weight of that settle for a moment. On a tiny frozen moon, nearly a billion miles from the sun, in a place we once dismissed as a dead ball of ice, there is liquid water, there is energy, and there are the chemical ingredients associated with life. This does not prove that anything lives there. It would be irresponsible to claim that it does. But it means the conditions are present, in the least likely place imaginable, and that alone reshapes how we think about where life might take hold in the universe. Enceladus offers the tantalizing possibility of a hidden ocean, but it has a larger sibling, a moon so bizarre and so strangely familiar that standing on its surface might feel, for a disorienting moment, almost like standing on a version of Earth, until you realize what the rivers are truly made of. Titan is the largest of Saturn's moons, larger even than the planet Mercury, and it is the only moon in the entire solar system with a thick, substantial atmosphere. When a probe descended through its orange haze and sent back images of the surface, scientists saw something they had never seen anywhere beyond Earth. They saw shorelines. They saw riverbeds, winding channels carved by flowing liquid. They saw lakes and seas stretching toward the horizon. It looked unsettlingly like home. But it is not home, and the resemblance is a kind of beautiful deception. On Titan, the temperature hovers around -180 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze the very air we breathe. At that temperature, water is not liquid. It is as hard as rock, forming the mountains and bedrock of the moon itself. The rivers and lakes are not water at all. They are liquid methane and ethane, gases here on Earth, but on frigid Titan, they flow as rivers, gather into seas, evaporate into clouds, and fall again as rain. Picture that world for a moment. A rain of methane drifting slowly down through a thick golden sky, because in that low gravity and dense air, the drops fall gently, almost lazily, far slower than rain on Earth. Rivers of that same liquid cutting through hills of frozen water ice, pooling into vast dark lakes. A full weather cycle, evaporation, clouds, rainfall, rivers, seas, all of it running not on water, but on chemicals we would recognize only as fuel. It is Earth's familiar rhythm, played on an utterly alien instrument. And this is precisely what makes Titan so haunting. It is not strange in the way empty space is strange, cold and distant and unrelatable. It is strange because it is so nearly familiar. It has weather. It has seasons. It has landscapes shaped by rain and rivers, the same forces that shape the valleys and coastlines of our own world. Titan holds up a mirror that is subtly, profoundly warped, showing us how the ordinary processes of a living world can arise from ingredients we never imagined. We have seen Saturn's storms and rings, its hidden ocean and its rain of methane. But there is one experience of this planet we have not yet touched, one that reaches past the eyes entirely. Because Saturn, it turns out, does not only show itself to us, it can also be heard. We tend to imagine space as silent, and in one sense it is. Sound, as we normally experience it, needs air to travel, and the vacuum between worlds carries none. But there is another kind of sound, hidden in the invisible currents of energy that flow around a planet. Saturn is wrapped in powerful electromagnetic waves, radio emissions rippling through the space around it. And when spacecraft recorded those waves and translated them into something our ears could hear, the result was unlike anything on Earth. What they captured does not sound like weather. It does not sound like wind or thunder or anything we associate with a planet. It sounds eerie, otherworldly, a chorus of whistles and rising tones and strange warbling cries, like voices half heard through a storm, like an instrument no human hand has ever played. It is the sound of Saturn's magnetic field interacting with the charged particles streaming from its poles, a phenomenon tied to the same physics that lights our own skies with the shimmering glow of the aurora. There is a particular power in hearing a thing rather than only seeing it. An image can be admired from a comfortable distance, held at arm's length like a photograph in an album. But a sound reaches inside you. It fills the room. It arrives whether you want it to or not, and it lingers in a way that pictures rarely do. To close your eyes and listen to the voice of a planet nearly 1 billion miles away is to feel, for a moment, that the distance has collapsed, that Saturn is not a dot in a textbook, but a presence, vast and real and strangely near. These recordings did more than fascinate scientists. They reminded everyone who heard them that our understanding of the cosmos is not built on sight alone. We reach out to distant worlds with every sense we can extend to them, translating radio into sound, data into images, faint signals into knowledge. And in that translation, something almost intimate occurs. A planet that no human will ever visit speaks in its own way. And we, across all that emptiness, are finally able to listen. Every image, every measurement, every haunting sound we have described came to us through the work of a single extraordinary machine. And the story of that machine and how it chose to end may be the most human story that Saturn has to offer. Its name was Cassini. Launched in 1997, it traveled for nearly 7 years and more than 3 billion kilometers before it finally slipped into orbit around Saturn in 2004. For 13 years after that, it circled the planet faithfully, sending home the images and measurements that transformed everything we knew. Nearly every wonder described in this story, the vanishing rings, the plumes of Enceladus, the seas of Titan, reached us through the eyes of this one distant, tireless spacecraft. But machines, like all things, run out of fuel. By 2017, Cassini was nearing the end of its supply, and its handlers faced a difficult decision. They could not simply leave it drifting, because a dead, uncontrolled spacecraft might one day crash into Enceladus or Titan, the very moons that might harbor the conditions for life. To contaminate those pristine worlds with bacteria carried from Earth was a risk the mission's scientists were unwilling to take. And so they made a choice that was, in its way, deeply honorable. They decided that Cassini would die by falling into Saturn itself. On September 15, 2017, they sent the final commands, and the spacecraft turned toward the planet it had studied for so long and began its last descent. As it plunged into Saturn's atmosphere, tearing through those violent skies at tremendous speed, it kept its antenna pointed toward Earth and kept transmitting, gathering data on the atmosphere it was falling through, sending back new discoveries in the very act of being destroyed. It worked until the instant the heat and pressure tore it apart. It is difficult, even for the most rational among us, not to feel something at that. A machine has no fear, no awareness, no sense of sacrifice. And yet the people who built it, who guided it across billions of kilometers, who spent the better part of their careers in its company, gathered in a control room that day and watched the signal fade, and many of them wept. They had sent a piece of human curiosity into the dark, and it had served faithfully to its final breath, dissolving at last into the very planet it had spent its life revealing. Cassini gave us 13 years of answers before it fell. But perhaps its greatest legacy is not what it explained. It is what it left unfinished, the deep questions it uncovered but could not resolve, waiting now for a new generation to carry forward. It would be a comfortable ending to say that Cassini answered our questions about Saturn. But that would not be true, and Saturn deserves better than a comfortable ending. The truth is that for every mystery the spacecraft solved, it uncovered others just as deep, and it fell silent with many of the most important questions still open, still unanswered, still waiting in the cold and the distance. We still do not fully understand the hexagon at the North Pole, why it holds its shape so perfectly, why it has endured so long. We still cannot say with certainty how old the rings truly are, whether they formed alongside the planet billions of years ago, or whether they are far younger, perhaps born from a shattered moon within a span that overlapped with life on Earth. The evidence pulls in more than one direction, and honest scientists admit they do not yet know. And then there is the greatest question of all, the one that hovers over Enceladus and its buried sea. We know there is water, we know there is energy, we know there are organic molecules, but we do not know whether somewhere in that dark ocean beneath the ice, something stirs. We have found the stage set with every ingredient life requires, and we have not been able to look closely enough to see whether the stage is empty or occupied. That question remains perhaps the most profound question a human being can ask, and for now it stands unanswered. There is no shame in this. In fact, there is something to respect in it. A lesser story would tie every thread into a neat bow and send you away satisfied. But the real story of Saturn is the story of a frontier. And frontiers are defined not by what we have conquered, but by what still lies beyond us. To sit honestly with what we do not know is not a failure of science. It is the very engine that drives it forward, the reason we keep building, keep launching, keep reaching into the dark. These unanswered questions are not an ending. They are an invitation. And that invitation leads us finally to the question beneath all the others. Why does any of this matter to us here in our ordinary lives, so far from that distant and impossible world? It would be fair to ask why we should care about a planet we will never visit, a place no human hand will ever touch, orbiting so far away that its light takes over an hour to reach us. We have our own concerns here on Earth, our families, our health, our worries, the ordinary and often heavy business of living. What claim does a distant ball of gas and ice have on our attention, on our hearts? The answer, perhaps, is that Saturn reminds us of something we too easily forget. It reminds us that we are part of something staggeringly large, older and grander than any human trouble, a universe of impossible beauty unfolding whether we notice it or not. There is a kind of quiet relief in that, a loosening of the grip our daily anxieties hold on us. To look up at Saturn is to be reminded that our lives, however difficult, are set against a backdrop of wonder so vast it can hardly be measured. There is also this. The drive to understand Saturn is the same drive that has defined humanity at its best. It is the same curiosity that led our ancestors to cross oceans, to map the stars, to ask what lay beyond the next hill. We are, at our core, a species that looks up and wonders, and that impulse does not fade with age. If anything, those of us who have lived longer understand better than most how precious it is to keep wondering, to keep learning, to refuse to let the world become ordinary. Saturn matters because wonder matters. It matters because the questions it raises about time, about beauty, about the fragile chance of life, are the same questions that give our own brief lives their depth. A person who can still look at a ringed planet floating in the dark and feel something stir inside them has not grown old in the way that matters. They have kept alive the one thing that no number of years can take, the capacity to be moved by the sheer strangeness and grandeur of being here at all. And so we arrive at the end of this journey, though in truth it is not an end at all, because the story of Saturn is still being written, and there is a way for you to be part of what comes next. The exploration of Saturn is far from over. New missions are being designed even now, including one bold plan to send a rotorcraft, a kind of flying drone, to soar through the thick skies of Titan and land upon its alien surface, studying those methane rivers up close. Scientists continue to dream of returning to Enceladus, of flying through its plumes once more, of finally answering whether that hidden ocean holds nothing or holds everything. The next chapter is already being drafted in laboratories around the world. What we have shared today is only what we know so far, a snapshot taken in the middle of a story still unfolding. The children being born now may grow up to see answers we can scarcely imagine, discoveries that will make even Cassini's revelations seem like a first glance. And there is something wonderful in that, in knowing that the universe still has so much left to reveal, that the sense of mystery we have felt together will be handed on undimmed to those who come after us. If this journey through the mysteries of Saturn stirred something in you, if it made you pause or wonder or see the night sky a little differently, then I would ask you to do a few simple things. Subscribe to this channel so that you do not miss the next journey we take together into the wonders of the cosmos. And if this video moved you, please take a moment to give it a like, because it genuinely helps others discover these stories as well. Most of all, I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me, which of Saturn's mysteries struck you the most? Was it the storm older than your grandparents, the vanishing rings, the hidden ocean of Enceladus, or the machine that fell on purpose into the planet it loved? Your thoughts are what turned this from a video into a conversation, and I read them and I treasure them. So keep looking up, keep asking questions, keep letting yourself be amazed by a universe that has never once stopped being amazing. There are more mysteries out there than we could explore in 100 lifetimes, and as long as there are people willing to wonder about them, the journey will never truly end. Thank you for spending this time here. I will see you on the next one.